Hello and welcome. You're watching News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna, and joining me here in the studio is my colleague Brijesh Pandey. Over the next few minutes, we're going to decode for you a very important judgment that has been delivered today by the Supreme Court of India. In a very significant order addressing the menace of hate speech, the Supreme Court today said all states must register a case every time a hate speech is made, even if there is no formal complaint. And delays in filing hate speech cases will be treated as contempt of court. Terming it a serious offence, the top court said hate speech is capable of affecting the secular fabric of the country. We make it clear that such action be taken irrespective of the religion of the maker of the speech, so that the secular character of Bharat, as envisaged by the preamble to the Constitution, can be preserved. The court also said it has been entertaining petitions against hate speeches in different parts of the country for the larger public good and to ensure the establishment of the rule of law. With this important ruling, the Supreme Court has extended the scope of its 2022 order, which had directed the Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand police to take suo motu action in multiple hate speech cases. Now, this ruling applies across the country. Given the alarming rise in hate speeches in India, it is a verdict that was much needed and indeed very welcome. But the question is, are political parties listening? All right, to understand what the ramifications of this order are likely to be, I am joined by my colleague Brijesh Pandey and senior advocate K.C. Mittal. Of course, hate speech is not a new phenomenon in this country, but in recent years we have seen an alarming rise in instances of hate speeches. A case in point being the multiple so-called dharam sansads that have been held here in Delhi and elsewhere, where calls have been given, call to arms have been given, where inflammatory speeches have been made targeting certain communities. And in most of those cases, the people who made those speeches got away. What do you think today's Supreme Court order changes from here on?
Let me tell you, the overall atmosphere is charged with hate speeches, and it's commonly known. We read that most of the time in the newspapers also, or even on TV channels as well. And these are all motivated allegations made in public, whether it is rally or individual groups, it is done. Hate speeches has become today the motivated and a calculated design to attack the other religion or community. And this is what has been happening, and we are thankful to the Honorable Supreme Court of India for having taken cognizance of such events and having issued this stringent, I may say, directions to the state governments and the union territory. Why should a state government, why should the police, wherever, whichever state it is, whether it is ruled by one party or another party, or party at the center, or in the union territory, is it not their duty to proceed and take action and register FIR, as in when any such incident happens where there is a hate speech? They are not doing it. They just ignore it. And that is the reason why ultimately Supreme Court had to make these kind of observations for on an issue which this suo motu, the state governments or the union territory, the police should have done it and taken it. They don't do it. It's unfortunate. Let me tell you another important aspect of it. If you go to election laws, hate speeches are prohibited over there also under Section 125 of the Representation of People's Act and Model Code of Conduct. It's a part of it, of the Model Code says no political party or any of the individuals or the candidate will make hate speeches, and if they do it, it's a serious offense. The whole thing to be understood is we have to maintain the amity and peace and tranquility.
But Mr. Mittal, can I ask you this? Sir, you were right in mentioning that certain laws have existed already that prohibit hate speech. But fact of the matter is that nobody ever seemed to care, least of all political parties. But now that the Supreme Court of India, no less, has said that if there is a delay in filing a hate speech case, it will be deemed as contempt of court. Do you believe this is likely to have a chilling effect on political parties and state governments? Are they likely to spring into action now that the Supreme Court has used these tough words? Do you realistically expect things to change on the ground, sir?
I hope so, because the action is to be taken by the local police. It is the responsibility of the Commissioner of Police or the SHO of a particular police station to take action. Let me tell you, I was dealing one case where case of an accused for bail, and when I saw the recordings, it was really horrible. The kind of hate speeches that were provocative speeches, those were delivered, but the police was just, despite being a witness, being over there, being party to the rallies, did take no action. They were just as if they were just participating themselves in these kind of activities. If this continues, then what will happen? It will lead to a kind of anarchy in the country. And the country must convey thanks to the Honorable Apex Court and the judges, those who have passed this kind of order, where they have even gone to the extent to say that if the police doesn't act on the basis of the suo moto, then it would constitute a contempt of the court. And why ultimately we need this kind of direction from the Honorable Apex Court? Is it not the duty of the police officers at their own level? If they find anybody making hate speeches, they should register cases and prosecute them. And that is really, I'll tell you, if you want the amity, peace and amity in the country, if you want, now I'm dealing with another aspect, if you want the country, the secular fiber of the country to survive, it is very necessary to deal this kind of nuisance and the crime with a very hard hand and teach them a lesson so that they don't repeat it. But unfortunately, that's not happening.
Well, I think, I hate to use this word landmark for most of the cases, but today is a landmark judgment if you look at the time we live in. The fact is now the onus is on the police. And if the police, they don't have to hide behind the veil of nobody has filed complaint. Yeah. If a hate speech has happened, they have to file complaint. And if they don't file complaint, it will be considered as a contempt of the apex court. I think this will definitely deter the the police authority across places, and now it will empower those who will now get the chance to report these hate crimes if no action has been taken by the police suo moto. I think it was a much needed and much welcome judgment. If you remember, last year, the justices even went to the extent of calling state important.
Yes.
And said that, if the state behaves like this, so powerless, so important, why does it exist at all? And this was an outrage which was expressed. And this particular judgment, I think, will, I won't say bring the entire hate speeches to a screeching halt, but this will definitely deter, because now the police or the authorities will find it very hard to, they will not find any facade to hide behind, saying that, oh, we didn't knew that, oh, there was no complaint and things like that. So I think it's a very, very welcome judgment as far as the time we live in is concerned.